Do you think that Dr. Fauci intentionally lied under oath to Senator Paul when he vehemently denied NIH's funding of gain-of-function research?
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
You are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individuals. I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Do you think that Dr. Fauci intentionally lied under oath to Senator Paul when he vehemently denied NIH's funding of gain-of-function research?
I think there's no doubt that NIH was funding gain-of-function research.
Is it likely that American tax dollars funded the gain-of-function research that created this virus?
I think it did, not only from NIH, but from the State Department, USAID, and from DOD.
So in your expert opinion, was the Wuhan Institute conducting gain-of-function research on coronaviruses? Thank you.
Dr. Redfield, did you agree, in your opinion, with Dr. Anderson's assessment at the time that this virus did look engineered?
It was very disconcerting to me. It looked like this virus was engineered.
In one sentence, can you provide a definition of gain-of-function research?
I think it's to take a pathogen and try to increase one of two things or both, to increase its transmissibility or its pathogenicity.
Has gain-of-function stopped a pandemic, in your opinion?
No, on the contrary, I think it probably caused the greatest pandemic our world has seen.
All right, guys, so that was former CDC director, Mr. Robert R. Redfield, testifying in front of Congress, basically saying that, yes, the NIH did, in fact, fund gain-of-function research. Now, again, this comes as Congress, led by the Republican Party, is looking into the origins of COVID-19. And as the Biden administration slowly but surely is starting to admit that this virus probably most likely was a result of a lab leak, okay? It leaked out of a lab, okay? It was man-made. It was engineered, okay? Most likely in Wuhan. And who knows? Maybe it was funded with taxpayer dollars, right? We really don't know, but it seems like the more evidence that we get, the more facts that comes out, it seems more likely than not that is the case, right? But Fauci doesn't seem to understand what the big deal is, right? He doesn't understand the criticisms that are being lobbied at him as the director of the NIH, okay, and somebody that's supposed to oversee this stuff. And also he was in charge of giving recommendations and guiding us and leading us through the pandemic. He's not understanding some of the pushback because you have some people like Elon Musk and other people on the right as well too, some conservatives calling to have him arrested and prosecuted. And Fauci doesn't really seem to understand why, okay? He did an interview with Jim Acosta, CNN's chief Democrat Party propagandist there on the weekends. He did an interview with Jim in which, again, he kind of lost it when Jim asked him about Elon Musk calling for Fauci to be arrested and prosecuted.
And on this theory of a lab leak, I've been wondering this. Do we have any idea how that would even work? Have you heard any accounts as to how that might have happened? Is there speculation in the scientific community as to how that happened?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Jim. So one of the things that people maybe don't fully appreciate, that all of the intelligence agencies agree unanimously that this was not engineered. Namely, they didn't deliberately do this to make a bioweapon. Everybody agrees with that. No matter what your prior thoughts were, everybody agrees with that. A lab leak could be that someone was out in the wild, maybe looking for different types of viruses in bats, got infected, went into a lab, and was being studied in the lab, and then it came out of the lab. But if that's the definition of a lab leak, Jim, then that still is a natural occurrence. The other possibility is someone takes a virus from the environment that doesn't actually spread very well in humans and manipulates it a bit, and accidentally it escapes or accidentally infects someone, and then you get an outbreak. Those are the possibilities when you're talking about lab leaks.
But are there any accounts of that occurring where one might say, okay, well, there we go. Perhaps this is it. This is what happened.
No.
That you're aware of.
In fact, there are no lab leaks that have led to pandemics. So there have been accidents in a lab that happens intermittently We've had experiences with that in modern times recently, but there have never been a situation where a virus escaped from a lab that's a brand new virus that no one has ever seen before that led to a pandemic. That has not happened.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you've been vilified on the far right. I know you know that. And we've seen Elon Musk tweet that his pronouns, he's the owner of Twitter, that his pronouns are prosecute. Fauci, others in the GOP have talked about arresting you and prosecuting you for your handling of COVID. What's your response to that, your response to Musk, and what has that been like for your family?
Well, I mean, there's no response to that craziness, Jim. I mean, prosecute me for what? What are they talking about? I mean, I wish I could figure out what the heck they were talking about. I think they're just going off the deep end. That's the answer to your first question. It doesn't make any sense to say something like that, and it actually is irresponsible. Of course, it's going to have a difficult effect and a deleterious effect on my family. I mean, they don't like to have me getting death threats all the time. Every time somebody gets up and spouts some nonsense that's misinformation, disinformation, and outright lies, somebody somewhere decides they want to do harm to me and or my family. So that's the part about it that is really unfortunate. The rest of it is just insanity, the things they're saying, but it does have a negative effect when people take it seriously and take it out on you and your family, which is the reason why I still have to have protection, which is really unfortunate.
But yeah, so first and foremost, you have Jim Acosta, who claims to be a reputable journalist, trying to associate Elon Musk with the quote-unquote far right, right? According to these guys, Elon Musk is far right, okay? When Elon Musk is quite literally probably the definition of what a moderate is in this country, okay? Same with Joe Rogan, okay? But according to these leftists, who claim they're not woke, right? They claim they're not progressive, if you ask them. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk are far-right individuals, okay? Now, in regards to what Fauci's saying about the lab leak, to sit here and try to say, well, it was not done maliciously, like we know it wasn't done, it wasn't engineered or whatever. I'm like, how do you know that? Like, have you not learned from making these statements? These statements that have proven time and time and time again that he's just wrong about. He doesn't even believe that the virus leaked from a lab, okay? He doesn't even believe in the lab leak theory. Allegedly, he doesn't, right? He actually went out of his way to take taxpayer dollars to try to fund research or slanted research to prove that it didn't leak from a lab, right? He doesn't believe it. So if you don't believe it, then how in the world can you say it wasn't done maliciously or wasn't something that was engineered? Again, you would think this guy would learn from being caught up in his lies, right? From being wrong all the time, that, hey, maybe you should just, not talk so much, right? Not talk so much. But what really gets me about this interview is Fauci pretending like he doesn't know why people are calling for his arrest and prosecution. Well, one is because he oversaw gain-of-function research being done on coronaviruses. And, he lied to Congress about it, right? He lied to Congress about it, okay? It's really that simple. Again, lying under oath used to be a crime. Now it's commonplace, right? And we make a big deal out of it, but nobody ever faces consequences for doing it. So it's effectively legal.
The reason Dr. Fauci didn't want any attention drawn to this or to his funding of the lab is that ultimately he would have culpability. Ultimately, there's a responsibility because for years he had advocated for gain-of-function research. He's even quoted as saying in 2012, if a pandemic should occur, if a scientist should be bitten by an animal and the virus gets out of the lab, it would be worth the knowledge. But in late January 2020, there's a flurry of emails that go on all night long till 3 in the morning. The next day, there's a video conference, and 8 good friends of Fauci, scientists, famous virologists, come together and they say, Dr. Fauci, we think this leaked from the lab. The virus, the sequence of the RNA is suspicious. We think it came from the lab. And at the end of the phone call, they all became convinced otherwise, and they agreed to write an article saying something the opposite of what they were saying in private. So yes, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins and others orchestrated a cover-up. There's emails between Dr. Collins and Dr. Fauci in which Dr. Collins says this wouldn't be good for China. This wouldn't be good for science. meaning that it wouldn't be good for the business of science, for the money that changes hands. There's so much going on here, and when the American public finally find out, I mean, there's going to be such dissatisfaction in this country like you can't believe. For example, we know that the NIH gave money to American universities who then gave it to military researchers. These are researchers with the title of general and colonel in the People's Liberation Army. Our universities gave NIH money to them to do military research. This is a real problem. When the truth gets out there, when this is finally declassified, it's going to be explosive.
Yeah. So I think the worst part about this interview from Fauci here is the victim card, right? At the end where he says that, well, criticism of me, these people calling for me to be prosecuted and arrested for lying on the oath and essentially trying to cover up the origins of the virus, probably to try to cover his own ass. Yeah, these people must want harm done to my family, right? That is what he's saying. Okay, he's trying to cry victim and say, well, because these people are criticizing me, you know, people are writing mean things in my family. And listen, here's the thing. I don't condone that. I don't think that's right. Okay, but here's the thing. When you are a public official, that is going to happen, right? That is par for the course when it comes to public officials. Now, again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that it's okay. Obviously, it's wrong. But I don't think that you can sit here and try to say that people criticizing you or saying that, hey, maybe you should be prosecuted and arrested is them doing it with the intent of trying to have people go after you and your family and to try to cause you some type of violent harm. I don't think that that is the intent of people basically demanding that you stand trial and defend what you did, okay, in regards to covering up the virus, the funding of gain and function research, et cetera, et cetera. People want answers to these questions. I mean, this virus shut down the world, right? We want to get to the bottom of it, how it happened. But again, just asking questions, criticism is harmful, right? Harmful. It's an attack on people like Dr. Fauci, a physical attack on him and his family, according to him. Again, these people stay playing a victim card when all else fails, right? When you can't defend your position, right? You play dumb, right? Like Fauci did, pretend like he doesn't know what people are talking about. And then you cry victim and say, boo-hoo, all the criticism of me is causing me real world physical harm, even though it's really not, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.